Hi, everyone. I am doing a Rachel Gets Personal monologue, and I'm doing it from my vehicle, safely, of course, and hands-free. But you will hear some whizzing of cars and some background noise, but I think that's okay for this audio. I'm sitting in the car for an abnormal amount of time. I had to do a lot of commuting today, from meeting to appointment to meeting. And as I'm heading back to South Surrey, where we now live, I had some things to share and thought, what a time to do so. I have 3 children, as most of you know, this wonderful podcast, and run a PR business. So I don't have a lot of time to do Rachel Gets Personal monologues, although I always love doing them. I'm amazed that as many people listen as do. I don't know how many people listen. My producer / husband does not share this with me. I don't know if you all know this, but I have no idea how many people listen to my podcast. And that is on purpose. That is intentional. For the first 3 years, I made an agreement with my producer that I would not be privy to this information because I am a control freak. And I would try to change and obsess over numbers, and I want to focus on content. And so that's where we are. I do know that the episodes are going very well, and as the podcast has grown, the numbers have continued to rise, and that I have a very healthy listener base, and I know the rankings of my episodes, but that's pretty much it. But people do listen to the Rachel Gets Personal monologues, and I think it's because they're relatable, which is a relief to me because I thought that my life was insane. So thank you for that. I live in South Surrey now, as I mentioned. We moved in June, lived in Burnaby for almost 7 years prior to that. And I wish I had moved to South Surrey years ago. It is beautiful. It has everything you need. Every store, every amenity. It is minutes from the border, which we often cross for Target and Trader Joe's and gas and all the favorites. And then, you're 2 blocks away from your amenities and horses are galloping through the fields and you're in farmland, and it's just absolutely stunning. Berries being sold on the side of the road and at markets throughout the summer. It's just such a beautiful community. I better not promote it too much. Otherwise, well, I think the word's kind of out. So anyway, there's a very large truck beside me. Wow, I don't know. Very large. Anyway, moving to South Surrey has been great. The Surrey has kind of gotten this bad rap, and I think it's, due to the media coverage of the unfortunate gang violence that takes place there. Yet it is so much more than that, and it is a very large municipality, as most of you know. We are in a safe, family-oriented community in South Surrey. All 3 of my children, they all go to 3 separate schools. We're hoping that they will be in the same school together next year at a Christian school that we've applied to. And it's just my husband had to actually deactivate the doorbell because so many kids were ringing it to play with our children, which is a good problem to have because I think I know that we're lacking community at times, especially for families in Greater Vancouver and especially in Vancouver and Burnaby too. But where we are, there's children riding their scooters. Scooters are a big thing now. I didn't realize this, but scooters and skateboards are it right now, in case you're interested. Riding their scooters, skateboards, bikes, playing outside together. It kind of reminds me of life when I was a child. Except when I was a child, I would go out for long periods of time and never, my parents would never wonder where I was. I was a latchkey kid. I'm not bitter. I'm just kind of different times. Anyway, we're a little bit stricter about monitoring our children's whereabouts and what they're doing, and for good reason, which leads me into my next topic, which is social media has really changed the dynamic for children. It has changed how fast they grow up. It has changed, obviously, their behaviors. It has changed their exposure to language and content that is way beyond their years. And it's really disappointing. There's a couple of problems that have hit our home. It's not all due to social media, certainly, but bullying is an enormous problem in BC's public schools. I spoke with the chair of the Vancouver School Board, Victoria Young, on my last episode. She is lovely. I've never had a child in the Vancouver school system, so how the Vancouver public schools are run and how things go there, I cannot speak to. I have had children in the Burnaby and in the Surrey school districts. And in both districts, bullying is bad. Physical, psychological, a lot of isolation. My children are biracial. My oldest one is a boy of color. He's not biracial. And he's been called the N-word in both the Burnaby School District and the Surrey School District. He is 11 years old. He just turned 11. That is upsetting in more ways than I can describe. I hope everyone feels that way. And that a child in 2024 knows this word and thinks it's okay to let it come out of their lips makes me wonder, A, about social media, and B, about what is going on in a household where a child would call another child the N-word. I have to wonder. I'm not saying it's because of that, but I do wonder. My children have never bullied other children. Now, if they did, and if they do, I would be just as devastated as I am when my children are bullied. Because I know the pain. I know the pain of the children being bullied, and I know the pain of the parents whose children are bullied. And it's deep. It cuts you deep. Your children go to school with the best of intentions, to learn to have fun, to make friends. And, my 4-year-old was hit the other day by another 4-year-old in junior kindergarten and kicked in the face. My just turned 7-year-old has been bullied repeatedly, kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2. It's nasty. And I've heard high school is worse from parents who have children in high school. Now, I have to say something, and I'm sorry to say this to the Burnaby School District, but I absolutely must. The Burnaby School District was an enormous disappointment. I was in touch with the school board. I brought my concerns of bullying and lack of supervision on the large, it's very expansive playground, play area where our children of all ages have recess and lunch break at the same time. I brought all these concerns to the school board, very diplomatically and kindly, yet with concern. And all I received was canned answers. And when I say that, listen, I work in public relations. I know what canned answers are. I actually work to try to train my clients not to provide canned answers. And by that, I mean basically messaging that says nothing. It just is speech to address your concern with words that are meaningless without actually addressing it or saying anything with any emotion, empathy, action, or value. And that should never be. And I would never media train a client in that way. And I'm sorry that the Burnaby School District either has been trained in this way or naturally speak in this way, which is highly doubtful. Nothing was done. The school did their very best for the most part. I mean, I am disappointed that teachers are not trained in neurodiversity in times where at very least 10% of students at a school are neurodiverse. They have no idea how to support it. And that to me is absolutely outrageous, especially considering many children go undiagnosed. So 10% is a number that's far too low. It is much higher than that in reality, surely. But I have actually found the South Surrey school in which my second grader, who's received the worst of the bullying, attends, outdoor, land-based, Indigenous focused school. And by Indigenous focused, I mean Chief Chappelle of Semiahmoo Nation contributes to the curriculum, which is absolutely wonderful. And the principal at this school is fantastic. There were bullying incidents, and she didn't just have some conversations and some slaps on the wrist. There was serious action taken. And I really appreciated that. And that happened in Surrey, not in Burnaby. You wouldn't expect. This is a strong woman with good values who has a zero tolerance for that type of behavior, and I really appreciate that. If my son was to stay in the public school system, he's probably in the best school that he can be in the outdoor-based learning school he's in South Surrey. We just really do want them in faith-based learning. So, yes, our children, I'm not going to give you parenting advice, my goodness, I'm the last person to do that. But I do have to say that I think it's important that, we have to instill values at home because they are not getting it at school. They are getting the worst possible influence, words, ideas, visuals that you can imagine. And they need to have values and ethics and good examples in front of them at every turn outside of the school. Sadly, it is actually my dream to sit down with the education minister, not to yell at her and tell her how horrible of a job she's doing. Surely it's a very difficult job, but just to simply tell her my experiences with my 3 children and make recommendations that she can then choose to throw out the door or consider. That would be something that I would really like to do. I have owned my own PR business now for since 2010, so almost 15 years. Before that, I was with an agency, a PR agency. Therefore, I work remotely, rented office space when the business was larger, and then I downscaled my business when I had my children in order to be able to be at home. And the business was growing very quickly, and it was about to become an agency. And I just felt like I really wanted to keep it Rachel Thexton does the work type of thing. No, I'm not a micromanager. I am a micromanager. No, but I think there is value to having an independent contractor who is going to have their hand on every part of your business, not a CEO who comes in and pitches a flashy campaign and then junior to mid-level people, professionals execute it, and God bless them. They shouldn't be, juniors shouldn't be doing media relations and some of the tasks they do. And I'm not saying every agency is horrible by any means, but I think that there's great value to having an independent contractor work on your account as they are invested heavily and they want to do a great job, as do I. I get very little sleep. I hustle like crazy, but I get the job done no matter what it takes. And I'm very, very passionate about ensuring that every client I work with is 110% satisfied with what they get from Thexton Public Relations. I say this because for the first time ever, we are going to be going away for 3 weeks, and I'm going to be working remotely for part of that time before the Christmas season, because I do have work to do the first couple of weeks of December. Um, and we've never done that before, and taken advantage of the fact that I can still work even if I'm not in Vancouver. I can take 3 weeks and go somewhere and enjoy some sunshine, and my kids can swim and have a good time. And that's one of the perks of being an entrepreneur. And so we're going to take advantage, and we're going to be away for part of December. There are people watching our home and making sure that everything's great there. But it's something that I should have done a lot more of. We should have done a lot more of, and I'm glad we're doing it. So um, I think it's a way especially after what's been a really hard and exhausting year for me. In many areas, it's a good way to kind of unwind and refresh myself for the new year. I have amazing clients. I am blessed to work with nonprofit clients who do amazing work. I work with a phenomenal Indigenous organization, and I'm just learning constantly. I work with corporate clients and real estate developers, and I really enjoy that work and coming up with creative ideas for these brands and these companies. And I still love the work I do. I love the digital component, and what I've learned, continue to learn via the importance of digital and also diversity and really building relationships. Also with content creators. I've worked on Glow Langley, the best Christmas event in British Columbia. I've been to most all of them, and it's not just because they're my client. It is a fantastic show. I wanted to mention about that client that a lot of digital content creators are involved in coming to a VIP night, media as well. And it's just been such a pleasure to not only nurture relationships that I already have, but build new ones. So many amazing content creators and media out there. And BC has such an amazing group of digital content creators and media. They're just so straightforward, kind. I worked in the Toronto market for a short period of time. It was a bit rougher. I did have media hang up on me a couple of times, but I was very junior and probably was being very, very dumb in what I was pitching at that time. I had no business pitching, but at that level. Anyway, the media and digital content creator community is phenomenal here. I hope that everyone has a wonderful season, and I mean that sincerely, and I mean that I hope that you unplug, turn off your social media other than listening to my podcast, because it's very important that you listen. It's absolutely exceptional content. No, but I do hope you listen. I have amazing guests. I'm so humbled that they say yes and they come on and they discuss and share, and I'm so privileged to share their stories. So privileged. But do unwind, unplug, get rest, and just take care of yourself. We're not taking care of ourselves as much as we need to in this hustle and bustle and burnout society. That's my plan, and I hope that most of you get the opportunity to do the same as well. I hope that you are enjoying the podcast. Would you like to hear from more media? Would you like to hear from more digital content creators? Would you like to hear from more authors, more creators, more artists? Would you like to hear from more underrepresented voices? I would love to have a farmer on the podcast. I have seen the work they do out here in the strawberry fields, in the cranberry and blueberry fields. It is hard work. It's dependent on so many factors out of their control, including the climate. And I would just love to have a farmer on the podcast. So if anyone has a lead there, please let me know. That's an underrepresented voice that I would really love to have on Rachel Thexton Connects. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of the podcast community that my producer husband and I have built. We're proud of it. We hope that you enjoy it. We welcome your feedback. And I wish you all the best, sincerely, for a great holiday season with lots of rest. signing off. Be kind and truly connect. You are listening to Rachel Thexton Connects.